Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Friday, October the 31st. I'm Andrew Gagan. The local market is set to open modestly higher with ASX futures up around 13 points. Dampened expectations of another rate cut from the Federal Reserve in December have weighed on global stocks, and there was muted reaction on markets after President Trump struck a deal with Chinese President Xi Jinping to reduce tariffs in exchange for resuming rare earth exports. Megacap earning results also proved to be a drag on Wall Street, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq closing lower as Meta and Microsoft fell on worries about surging AI spending. Amazon forecast revenue increase of 20% in the third quarter, which was ahead of estimates on strong demand for its cloud services as business spend more on AI. That's offset weaker growth at its e-commerce business. The shares surged more than 10% in extended trade, as it forecast net sales of up to $213 billion for the fourth quarter. And Apple has forecast holiday quarter iPhone sales and overall revenue ahead of analyst expectations amid supply constraints, which are delaying shipping new phones to China, although the shortfall was made up by strength in other areas such as AirPods that use AI to translate languages. Its profit topped Wall Street targets. Meta shares plunged after the social media company forecast notably larger capital expenses next year thanks to investments in AI. And Microsoft shares also fell after the tech giant reported a record capital expenditure of nearly $35 billion for fiscal first quarter. Google parent Alphabet rose as steady growth in advertising and cloud computing powered better than expected results. And AI chip leader Nvidia fell after it was given the market an extra boost the previous session when it became the first publicly listed company to surpass $5 trillion in market capitalization. Atlassian shares surged 12% in after-hours trade after the company reported quarterly cloud revenue rose 26% to just shy of $1 billion. Chipotle, Mexican grill, it tumbled after the burrito chain axed its annual sales forecast. An Australian sleep device maker ResMed has reported a 9% increase in first quarter earnings to $1.3 billion, while announcing plans to expand its manufacturing operations in the United States. Well, President Trump says he's agreed with President Xi to trim tariffs on China's exports from 57% to 47% in exchange for Beijing cracking down on the illicit fentanyl trade, resuming US soybean purchases and keeping rare earths exports flowing. According to China, the deal also included a US pledge to delay for a year a new measure to stop Chinese firms from receiving US technology if they're part-owned by a sanctioned company. China has agreed to pause export controls on rare earths, which it says would last for a year. Well, the European Central Bank has kept its policy rates unchanged at 2% as expected. ECB President Christine Lagarde saying that Europe's trade deal with the US and the agreement between the US and China to trim tariffs had all mitigated downside risks to growth, saying from a monetary policy point of view, we are in a good place. Well, the Eurozone economy grew by 0.2% in the third quarter, lifted by buoyant growth in France and Spain that offset faltering exports. US Treasury yields have risen on the diminished prospects of another Fed interest rate cut in December, the US 2-year at 3.61%, the 10-year up to 4.1%, and the US dollar index is up slightly on the day. The Aussie dollar has fallen back to 65.5 US cents. Oil prices are steady despite the potential trade truce between the US and China. Brent crude futures at $65 a barrel. Copper was off more than 3%, iron ore up more than 0.5% to 107 US a tonne, and gold rose, jumping back above $4,000 following the Fed rate cut and on apparent uncertainty of the outcome of the US-China trade deal. Spot gold up 2.5% to $4,023 an ounce. And Bitcoin has fallen below $108,000. Locally today, we get September private sector credit data and producer prices for the September quarter. Quarterly updates expected from Origin Energy, ResMed and Capstone Copper. AGM scheduled for Car Group, Fortescue, GWA, Integral Diagnostics, Ioneer, Pinnacle, Sky City, Steadfast Group and Vulcan Steel. That is your day ahead. See you again on Monday.